There are a great many things that teachers of non-duality and neo-advaita fail to communicate. Now, in some cases, it may honestly be their own lack of awareness, but in other cases, I believe this can be completely deliberate, because the space from which most non-dual teachers communicate is a state of transcendent awakening, where you suddenly wake up out of the identity of your mind, of your body, and that becomes your new resting point, and that's just where they stay. But that is only the beginning of the awakening journey. Transcendent awakening is the entry point into spiritual mastery. It is the entry point into far deeper awakenings, the awakening of the heart, the awakening of the gut. And those equally need to take place for a fully integrated, fully awakened being. But what ends up happening is that the teachers of neo-advaita take the realization of transcendence and they start treating it as the only, ultimate, and absolute truth, not realizing that they are actually just attached to their entry point into spiritual awakening, believing that they are fully liberated, and in some cases that they are just beyond the human condition. And of course, this is not the case. Not only is the transcendent awakening not even the end of your ego, it is just an expansion of your perspective that is done within the nervous system that gives you a different outlook on life. But throughout the process of any awakening within a human being, there is a period of integration. And integration simply means the body, the human, merging with the newly expanded awareness and perspective. Now, throughout this integration process, there is often a sense of I need to hold on to my realization and make it my new home, make it my new dogma, make it my new hiding spot, because I am afraid of coming back into the body, coming back into the world, and being with other human beings, because the vulnerability of being a human being is where we have been harmed the most. And so we resist our own integration process because we simply don't want to come back. And so I would advise you to be very mindful around the teachers who tell you that the absolute is the only thing there is, that transcendence is the ultimate truth, that go on and on and on about the fact that there is no self, that you are already it, there is only the present moment, yada yada yada. While all of those statements are on some level true, they point to the fact that there is an unintegrated, transcendent awakening. And the reason why this is problematic is because if it is unintegrated, it means that the ego within that individual, within that energy field, will eventually start acting out. Until, of course, they are pulled back into a deeper degree of awakening, which can be the awakening of the heart, and then, of course, the awakening of the gut. And by the way, all of these awakenings, for most people, don't actually happen in this chronological order where you first wake up the mind, then the heart, then the gut. They just sort of happen all over the place for most people, even though it tends to begin with transcendence. But please be mindful. Transcendent awakening is not the end of trauma. It is not the end of pain. It is not the end of emotions. It is not the end of ego. The ego structure is ingrained not just within our mind, but within our emotional body, even within our biological structure. Integrating the ego is a very deep, very profound, lifelong process. And there is likely not a single human being on this planet who is completely done with that. And so any teacher that claims to be beyond the ego, they have no attachment to the ego, there is no ego there, they are probably in some way deluded, or they are even deliberately misleading their students to make themselves look more enlightened. There's this very beautiful video from Jeff Foster where he talks about how he was deeply disappointed by all these spiritual teachers and gurus that he met throughout his teaching career, because they were just so brutally human. They still had pain, they still had emotions, they still had trauma, and in many cases, they were pretending they don't have it, and they would end up taking it out on their spouse or even on their student. And of course, that is a great tragedy. And so overall, the field of awakening, the field of non-duality has failed to communicate how deep the integration process actually is, that no one is beyond humanity. No one is beyond the pain within their nervous system. No one is beyond trauma or ego. It is just a part of our human journey. It may begin with transcendence, but it continues with the integration into the heart and then full embodiment into the gut.